Welcome back to the channel, everybody. We are back with a long-awaited update. As many of you know, we are in the process of backtracking all of our trades so that way we can provide you with the documentation and results for the signals, or I should say the trades that I call out for members within our free VIP. These are signals that I send out that I personally take that you can copy and profit from. So in the process of catching up to current month, we are going to provide you with the month of April's results. In a few days next week, we'll release the results for the month of May, and then we'll also have June and July ready, which will finally bring us up to date for the month of August. So for the month of April specifically, we had another profitable month. Now remember, as a member of our VIP, not only do you get access to my personal signals, but you also get access to our partners' signals as well. So the documentation that I'll be sharing with you today are in relation to my personal trades and signals. So when you join our free VIP, you can choose if you want to follow my signals, our partner signals, or both of our signals. So with that said, let's get started. We're going to first show you the tally of all the trades that we've taken, our wins, our losses, total gains, profit averages, and more importantly, to add a more transparency to our performance, we're going to hop into the charts and we're going to go through each trade that we called out so that way you can see when and where these signals were called and thereby see the value and the accuracy of our signal. Oh, and did you know we also provide automation? This is something we've been leveraging within our trading community. So in addition to making money from copying our signals, we also make money through our automation where the trading is done for you in the background. So regardless if you're copying our signals, busy at work, or just going about your daily routine, this is a great system that you can leverage for automated profits. So if you want to learn more about that, visit our information down below. So here's the tally of the total trades for the month of April. First week of April, we had a 92% win rate. We called out 14 trades, losing only one, 13 out of 14 trades with over 1,600 pips in profit. Second week, 82% win rate, winning 14 out of 17. So we lost 3 of the 17 signals, delivering over 2,200 pips in profit. Third week, 90% win rate. We called out a total of 20 trades. We lost 2, so 18 winning trades out of 20. Fantastic, delivering 1,900 pips in profit. And then the fourth and fifth week of April, we had an 84% win rate and an 81% win rate. On that third week, we called out 33 trades. We lost 5 of them, so we won 28 out of 33 trades, which is still a great win rate, delivering over 3,100 pips in profit. And then on that final week, we called out 16 trades, losing 3, 13 out of 16 profitable trades, delivering over 1,200 pips in profit. So in total for the month, we delivered over 11,600 pips in profit. We lost 1,300 from our losing trades, giving us a total profit gain for the month of 10,260 pips with a total average win rate of 86.24%. Now, how 10,000 pips in profit translates in terms of a dollar value, if you were trading with a micro lot size of 10 cents per pip, that's a total of over $1,000 in profit. At a 0.05 lot size, that's 50 cents per pip. That's $5,100 in profit. 0.10 lot, that's $1 per pip. So at 10,260 pips, that's 10,260 in profit. And for those of you with larger accounts trading at a standard 1 lot size, $10 per pip, multiplied by 10,026 pips, that's over $102,000 in profit. And again, folks, this is all just by copying and pasting the trades that I call out. And again, folks, these signals, or I should say these results, are in relation to my personal trades. These are the trades that I call out. This is not including the signals that you also get from our partners. So as a member of our free VIP, you get access to way more signals and way more opportunities for you to copy and profit from our trades. So if you want to learn more about our free VIP signals, you can visit our website down below. But now what we're going to do is hop into the chart. We're going to go through all the trades one by one. And now you can see the transparency and accuracy of our signals. So let's take a look. All right, so starting off for the month of April 1st, we called out for a buy at 31.30. Here's our entry a little after 6 a.m. in the morning. Take profits 1 and 2 were hit for 60 pips. And then I called out for a buy limit at 3,100, which as you can see, activated down here perfectly. A sniper entry where take profits 1 through 5 were hit for 200 pips. April 2nd, we had a cluster of trades here, starting with a buy at 31.16, a buy at 31.10. Here's our entry. A sell at 31.31. Here's our entry right here at these wicks. And then another buy at 31.21 right over here. So as you can see from the chart, take profits 1 through 3 were hit for 180 pips on our first entry, 200 pips on our second entry, 160 pips on our third entry for a sell, and then 60 pips on our buy. Later on that afternoon, we called out for another buy at 31.26. Here's our entry. As you can see, we had some massive wicks due to President Trump's liberation announcements, which pushed our trade in profit, hitting take profits 1 through 3 for 100 pips. Now, April 3rd started the day with a couple of buys here, here, and here. So our first entry was at 3098, 3092. And then another buy entry here at 3070. Take profits 1 through 3 were hit for 120 pips on our first entry, 60 pips on our second entry, and 100 pips on our third entry. Followed by a sell at 3128. Here's our entry where take profits 1 through 5 were hit for 230 pips. Then on April 4th, we called up for a sell at 3095, which resulted in our first loss for the month. Then we called out another sell at 3113. And 3135. So here's our entry for 3113 and 3135. Take profits 1 and 2 were hit for 100 pips on our second entry. Take profits 1 through 5 were hit for 200 pips on our third entry. On the following week, April 7th, started the day with a sell at 3041. Here's our entry. Take profits 1 through 5 were hit for 230 pips. A buy at 3008. Here's our entry. Take profits 1 through 5 were hit for 220 pips. And then we did another buy at 2958. That's right over here. And as you can see, based off of the chart, take profits 1 through 5 were hit for an additional 210 pips. April 8, we had a buy here at 3003. Take profits 1 through 4 were hit for 190 pips. Then price came back, retraced back to our entry. So we took a second entry where take profits 1 through 4 were hit for an additional 150 pips. Ow, shit. Hold on, guys. Oh, hi. Yeah, this little rascal likes to climb up my leg. There we go. Especially when I'm trying to do videos here. All right, so later on, we did a buy at 2987. Here's our entry, which as you can see, stop loss was hit. So this resulted in a loss. Then we did another sell at 3006. Here's our entry. Take profits 1 and 2 were hit for a little over 100 pips. On the 9th, we started with a couple of sells and a buy. Here's our first entry for a sell at 3046 and 3060. Take profits 1 and 2 were hit for 90 pips on our first entry. And then we had a couple of losing hits on our second and third entry. Here's the signal for our buy at 3080, which as you can see, again, price dropped down, hitting our stop loss. So because of those two losses, I didn't think I was going to call out any more trades. However, as the day progressed, price ended up coming back to our entry after this dip. So I called out for another re-entry, again, same signal as you can see, for another buy at 3080, which resulted in take profits 1 through 5 being hit at 250 pips. So it was a nice way to regain some of our losses, bringing us to the next day on April 10th. As you can see from the chart and the signals, we had a series of buys in this area. A buy at 3112, here's our entry, and then price came back into our entry, so we entered for a second entry, and then our third buy here at 3120, here's our entry right over here. Take profits 1 through 5 were hit for each of those trades for 210 pips and 200 pips. And as price went further up, we called out for a sell limit between 3163 and 3168. Here's our price range right here for our entry. So if you entered at 3163, you would have earned 110 pips. If you entered at 3168, you would have earned 170 pips. On the 11th, we started the day with a buy at 3118. Here's our entry. Take profits 1 through 5 were hit for 200 pips. Then a sell at 3130. Take profits 1 through 3 were hit for 100 pips. Now on the 14th, we had a cluster of trades in this area of the market. So we took advantage of the fact that price was just bouncing between these areas of support and resistance. So we started with a buy at 2707. Here's our entry, which as you can see, shortly after I instructed people to move their stop loss to break even in case price were to drop even further. And it was a good thing that we did, because by doing that, it allowed us to eliminate our risk from our trade and thereby close with no loss. It resulted in a break-even entry. After that break-even entry, we called out for a sell at 3204. Here's our entry. Take profits 1 through 3 were hit for 120 pips. A sell at 3216. Here's that entry. Take profits 1 through 4 were hit for 190 pips. A buy at 3199. Here's our entry. Take profits 1 through 5 were hit for 210 pips. And then a sell, let me see here. Yep, a sell here at 3214. Here's that entry. Take profits 1 through 3 were hit for an additional 150 pips. Needless to say, a great start for the week. And then on the next day, on the 15th, similar scenario where we did a cluster of trades here, starting with the trade where we ended up closing our trade at break even. So here's that buy at 32.25. That's our entry right over here. Wasn't liking the price action, so I announced when price was back at entry to trail our stop loss to either break even or into profit to eliminate the risk from our trade. Similar scenario, good thing we did, because as you can see, price ended up reversing to lower points. So no loss on that trade. And then we called out for a sell at 32.24. Here's our entry at 32.24. Take profits 1 through 3, we hit for 120 pips. Another sell at 32.22. Take profits 1 through 3, we hit for 110 pips. And then another sell at 32.22 right here. Take profits 1 and 2 were hit for 80 pips. And I'm pretty sure, yep, we had another sell here. Later on, we had another sell at 32.27. Here's our entry, which resulted in a loss. And then we had one final attempt for another sell. Here's our entry at 32.44 for 40 pips, hidden take profit 1. On the 16th, another cluster of trades in this area. We had a couple of buys here between 33.03 and 32.92. So here's our first entry, and here is our second. On that first trade, take profit was hit for 30 pips. Second entry at 32.92, which was here, take profits 1 through 5 were hit for 210 pips. Then we did a couple of sells after that. So let's just pull these up. A sell at 33.10. Here's that entry. And a sell at 33.05. Here's that entry. So for our first sell, take profits 1 through 3 were hit for 130 pips, and our second sell at 33.05, that resulted in a loss. And then I believe, yep, we did another buy at 33.49. Here's that entry. Take profits 1 and 2 were hit for an additional 90 pips. On the 17th, we had a cluster of buys here between 33.21, 33.26, and then we also took another second entry at that 33.26 level. So here's our first entry, second entry, third entry. Take profits 1 through 4 and 1 through 5 were hit for 200 pips, 150 pips, and 160 pips. And we did another buy, which I announced was high risk, but another buy entry at 33.24 for a smaller gain of 60 pips. On Friday the 19th, there was no trading because it was Good Friday. All right, so we resumed trading on the following Monday on the 21st. So on the 21st, we started the day with a buy at 33.88, another buy at 34.05, a sell at 34.22. Here's that entry, and another sell entry at that same level at 34.22. First two buys, take profits 1 through 5 were hit for 220 pips, 210 pips. First sell, take profits 1 through 4 were hit for 180 pips. Second sell entry at the same level, take profits 1 through 4, an additional 180 pips. Then we did another sell at 34.18. Here's our entry. Stop loss was hit for resulting in a loss, giving us the tally for the day at 4 wins and 1 loss. Next day on the 22nd, we started with a series of buys at 34.60. Here's that entry. 34.54. Here's that entry. Second entry for a buy at the same level of 35 at 34.54. Here's that entry. A buy at 34.38. Here's that entry. A buy at 34.35. Here's that entry, which resulted in a loss. So our first buy entry, take profit 1 was hit for 30 pips. Second entry, take profits 1 and 2 for 60 pips. Same for our third re-entry on that second trade, where take profits 1 and 2 were hit for 60 pips. And then we lost on that buy at 34.35, which was right here. Shortly after that, we called out for another buy at 34.30. Here's that entry, where as you can see from the announcements and the charts, take profits 1 through 5 were hit for 200 pips. Called out for another buy at 34.20. There's our entry. Take profits 1 through 4 were hit for 100 pips. And then a sell at 34.30. Here's our entry. Take profits 1 through 5 were hit for 200 pips. And then another buy at 33.82. Here's that entry, which as you can see from the chart and from the announcements, not only did take profits 1 through 5 hit for an additional 220 pips, but we also took another entry at a 33.85 level. So here's our first entry, here's our second entry. Both of these entries hit take profits 1 through 5 for 200 pips. Personally, I closed my trade at 3,400, but price reached 34.10. Hidden take profits 1 through 5 for over 200 pips. All right, on the 23rd, we started with a buy, a sell, and a buy. So first buy was at 33.20, the sell was at 33.36, and then the buy at 33.27. Here's that entry. So take profits 1 through 5 were hit for 200 pips on our first buy, 200 pips on our second buy on our sell, and then 110 pips on our second buy. We attempted for a buy at 33.10. Here's that entry, which as you can see, stop loss was hit for a loss. But then we went for another entry at 33.04, where take profits 1 and 2 were hit for an additional 60 pips. Then we made an announcement of a key level that we wanted to be mindful of. followed by another buy at 32.82. Here's that entry. Take profits 1 through 3 we hit for 100 pips. Then we did a sell at 32.81, where take profit 1 was hit for 90 pips. April 24th, started the day with a sell, which resulted in a loss. Here was our entry at 33.32. Then we did 2 buy entries at 33.36 and 33.33. Take profits 1 and 2 were hit for both entries for 80 pips. And then another buy at 33.30. Here's our entry for a small gain of 30 pips. And for anyone who set the buy limit that we had called out earlier at 33.33, also gained an additional profit for 30 pips. A buy at 33.12. Here's our entry at 33.12. Take profits 1 through 5 were hit for 230 pips. And within that buy, we also called out for a scalp sell at 33.18. Here's that entry, which resulted in a loss, followed by another sell at 33.28. Here's that entry. Take profits 1 and 2 were hit for 60 pips. Later on that evening, we called out for another buy at 33.51. Take profit 1 was hit for 30 pips, bringing us to April 25th, where we called out a series of sells in this area of the market. So our first entry here at 33.06, 33.03, and 32.96. All 3 of these trades hit take profits 1 through 5 for 230 pips, 250 pips, and 230 pips. I called out a buy limit at 32.59, but the trade did not activate. So we ended up closing that day with those 3 winning trades. On the 28th, we had a buy at 32.93. Here's our entry. Take profits 1 and 2 were hit for 70 pips. A buy at 33.00, which resulted in a loss. A sell at 33.30. Here's our entry. Take profits 1 through 3 were hit for 120 pips. And then we did another sell at 33.40. Here's that entry. Take profits 1 through 5 were hit for 200 pips. On the 29th, we did a series of sells at 33.13, 33.16, and 33.13 again. So as you can see from the charts, take profits 1 through 4 were hit for 150 pips on the first trade, 180 pips on the second trade, and an additional 150 pips on that third trade. And then we called out for a sell limit. So basically, I was announcing that if price were to reach this area at 3329, to set a pending order for a sell, predicting that price was going to go down. And that's exactly what happened. As you can see from these wicks, price hit our target exactly at 33.29, resulting in a beautiful sniper entry where take profits 1 through 5 were hit for an additional 250 pips. Now on April 30th, we started with a buy at 32.73. Here's our entry. Take profits 1 through 5 were hit for 220 pips. A sell at 32.80, which didn't work out, resulting in a loss. Another sell here at 32.86. Here's that entry, small gain for 30 pips. And then another sell here, what was this, at 33.02. So here's that entry. Take profits 1 and 2 were hit for 60 pips. A sell at 33.02 yet again. Here's that entry where take profits 1 through 5 were hit for 200 pips. And then I announced a possible sell setup that if price were to retrace back to the 33.14 level to go for a sell, but as you can see from the chart, price never reached it. So we ended up calling another sell at 33.04. Here's that entry where take profits 1 through 5 were hit for 200 pips. Then we did a buy at 32.71. Here's our entry. Take profits 1 through 3 were hit for 140 pips. Another buy at 32.63, which resulted in a loss. This was actually a huge event of manipulation where we showed on the 1 minute chart where price spiked down over 200 pips in a matter of just a few seconds, which resulted in a loss, followed by our final trade for the month of April for a buy entry at 32.48. Here's our entry where take profit 1 was hit for 30 pips, resulting in an 86.24% win rate and over 10,200 pips for the month. I sent out the signals, you copy the trade, and collect the profits. So there you have it, folks. Those are the results for the month of April. Again, if you want to learn more about our free VIP, you can visit our website or click the link down below. And I look forward to seeing you in the inside of our community. Take care.